Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited that you're here because I'm going to talk about one of my favorite things, and that is granulating watercolor. I don't know if you are in my sketchbook journaling class for beginners, but I did a lot of granulating watercolor in that class. So we're going to talk about what's in here that I just recently put together, the kind of brushes that work really great for granulating watercolor, and the kinds of granulating watercolor you're going to come across in your watercolor journal, or I would say your journey in general, because there's going to be a lot of paint that you're going to run into that you might not have known is actually granulating, or that you buy purposely that is granulating. So right here you're looking at some of the lessons in the class, and the reason why I have them out for you is because super granulating Schmincke colors are really cool because they put together these sets. And within the sets, they have a really neat range. What I love about the range is that they've already pre-mixed some really interesting looking colors that kind of go together really well. And if you look at the pigment information on each of these, it's going to show you what they're made up of. And that's what I teach you in the class, a lot about paint and getting started and understanding what your paints are going to do and how to use them. And I think that those are a lot of hurdles that so many of you are trying to work your way through. So let me just kind of go through some of the quick outside definitions first before we open this box and show you what's inside. So first of all, granulating watercolor is granulating because in the water, when the water hits the paint, it disperses it. And it disperses like this kind of textured looking effect rather than something that is just like a very flat, right? So what happens is when you have a textured watercolor paper like this, that's like 100% cotton, or even not, this is actually a piece that is not 100% cotton. This is just a cheap piece of paper that is like made of wood pulp. But because it's got texture to it, the granulation kind of sits in there and it looks a lot more grainy. And I love the effects. Now, things that really work out with these effects, as you can see how this is just really, really beautiful. It's so granular, right? It's great to do shades and shadows, or to have the appearance of these beautiful textures within your watercolors. So like in these paintings, as you can see, some of these colors, well, all of these were done with granulating colors. And because of that, you're able to get a really neat, misty kind of look without even trying. I mean, you don't even have to really do much. It just does it for you. And I love that effect in a lot of the paintings that you're going to be trying to do, you know? So all these are like, this is the Deep Sea set from Schmincke. These are some ways that I've used granulating watercolor to paint florals in that journaling class. But not only florals, but the backgrounds turn out so well with very little work. So one great thing you can do with granulating watercolor is do really interesting backgrounds. I also love skies and granulating watercolor because it just takes the work right out of it, right? You just put it in and you mix it up with water and you just let it like do its thing. And depending on how neat the paint actually is and what kind of paper you put on it, it's going to give you different effects, and it's always going to be different. This is just adding water to granulating watercolor, and look at that beautiful mist that you get, that really nice softness, right? Which is also is what you see over here. So you can see a lot of different things you can do with granulating watercolor that's so brilliant. So brilliant. I also like the backgrounds. I think backgrounds are so neat. So if you're going to do like a card, or you're going to do something that you want like a forest, using a granulating watercolor in the background, it's so simple. I mean, this is one color. That's it. And this is one color, you know, and it just kind of gives you those beautiful effects that you can layer on top of that. Even here, this is all granulating on the background. So in that course, you learn so many of these neat things to do with granulating watercolor. And it's basically a course on how to use your paint, you know? Now, you don't have to buy super granulating watercolor to have watercolor that's granulating. There are a lot of colors like ultramarine that automatically granulate, and this is one of them here. It's a beautiful, beautiful color, and it will automatically come granulating in most of your sets if you're using professional watercolor. So mix it with something else, like I've used lemon yellow here, and you get these lovely granulating greens coming off of the blues, and then you can smudge them in the background and you have that misty kind of effect. So it's very, very simple to do. All right, so that's an overview of how granulating watercolor can really help you. Let's open the box and I'll show you what I've been doing. So this is a box that I bought from Schminke, and in it was my acrylic set. And so I often reuse my boxes because the boxes are so amazing. And of course, the acrylic is in tubes. It doesn't really need to sit in a box. So I put it with my others, and I decided to use this box and prepare it for my granulating watercolor sets. Now, I was doing these, and these are wonderful. Like, if you linked up in the description box, I'm going to put the sets that I love the best that come in these wood boxes. And what you can do is you can put the metal pieces in here, and then you can actually put the magnets on the bottom, and you can just stick them in there. And this fits perfectly. I mean, like, it will hold a ton of paint, and you could paint this with a waterproof, I've seen people do it with a waterproof stain so that they don't get rid of the wood, but they actually stain it. And then they can use this as the palette once it's painted with the waterproof paint. It's pretty cool, right? I haven't found one of these that exactly fits in there yet, but if I do, I will let you know, and you let me know. I'm always scoping out for things like that. But also, if you have some of those really large pans with your, many of you guys get the kuretake when you first start out. So the kuretake has those great big pans. So save your pans, because you could fill this up front and back with those pans. And then if there's magnets holding these together, you literally could have this entire thing, and just leave a couple of pans empty for mixing. So really easy to convert this into your next watercolor palette and just take it everywhere with you. I love it. And they look so good when they've been stained. You know, if you don't like the color, they stain them. Okay, so anyway, this is a really cool box that came with this, and I wanted to repurpose it for just my granulating watercolors, because it's a gorgeous, gorgeous, well-made box. And I like the fact that it already had little rails dividing. So these are all granulating, and they perfectly fit in here. And then I bought this little set, which I've had for a while. This is actually a Schminke one. They come on Amazon all the time too, and this actually just fits perfect in here. And I can, you know, if I can put magnets in if I want to, or I can also do the Velcro tape to arrange this. But then I have a mixing palette, and then I found this online, and I'll leave a link below from Jackson's, and it fits perfect. So now I have plenty of mixing area. I don't have to dirty my lid or anything, and I love using ceramic to mix. And I have all these everywhere, right? So this is going to fit in here. I started swatching them last night, and as you can see, some of these granulating colors, because they're made up of two colors, they actually, when the water hits it just right, it shows you both colors. In some of granulating colors, they will actually break apart, and it's so, so beautiful. Now, there are a few here that are also Danielle Smith, and they do have some Danielle Smith that I do like, but I do notice, and I just want to give you a warning, that they do not re-wet well. You literally, like, even when you put them in, they won't go down. And then I'm re-wetting them forever, ever, ever. So we're going to spray this down so that when we go to use these, at least they're kind of wet. The Schminke, never have a problem with it. The only thing I would say is there are a couple colors in Schminke that aren't really juicy dark or anything. And because of that, they tend to feel like you're not getting a lot of color. And that is the Shire Yellow, which actually is a beautiful, beautiful color for green, for forests and stuff. And also the Volk Orange. It takes a lot of getting working the color unless you get it fresh out of the tube. So if you do put them in pans, which I did, I squoze them and put them in pans, then you have to re-wet it for a little bit and add a lot of water to get it really working, and then you can use it. Other things that I did notice is like some of the colors that said, you know, they were granulating or they're made of like a natural pigment like Amazonite by Daniel Smith, it doesn't really granulate that much. And I'm thinking of keeping this in here though, because I love the color and I can add it to a granulating color and it just makes it all that much better. So we're going to play with that a little bit today. So here's the colors. They're beautiful. I love them. Really seriously gorgeous. I guess I'll leave them here. And let's paint a little bit. Now, one of the things that obviously you want to do with granulating color is have the right brushes. If you have a brush that is very thin and small, it's not going to pull out and encourage the granulation as much as the juicier brushes. So brushes that work really, really well are like the Tintorito travel brushes, whether it be squirrel or synthetic squirrel. The Versatile brushes by Escoda. These are great because they hold so much water, but they've got a lot of snap, so they do a great job. Ultimo by Escoda is the best one, I think, because the Ultimo is just so big and fluffy. And this is like a size 10. So that will really get that granulation going. But you can also get it in the smaller sizes if you're not painting big, like a 6. And it holds so much water. You're going to see it. You're going to see how it does. Other brushes that, of course, are going to be at the top of the line of doing granulation and it working out every time is the Da Vinci Maestro, which is a Kolinsky sable brush. That's this one. And the Cosmotop by Da Vinci. And that is a mix of different things like synthetic. I think it's squirrel, sable, and synthetic. Both excellent for this. If you're a Princeton person, then the Neptune series also does granulation really, really well. And I actually have a big floppy Princeton dagger here, but I won't do Princeton today because I've done a lot of Princeton on my channel lately. And I like to kind of shake it up so you get experience with different brushes. Okay, so let's do a really cool background first. This one is Anamula paper. This is 100% cotton. I actually made this sketchbook, and there's a video on my channel here showing you how to make one. This is a very soft paper. I would get it again. I actually really liked it. I was surprised at how well I liked it because I didn't know, like I use arches so much, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to absolutely fall in love with the paper as much as I did, but I do like it. I feel like it's very soft, though it lacks the crisp feel of arches. When I use arches, it's got a very crispy, strong feel underneath it, and it does dry brushing like amazingly well. So the main difference is this is a very soft feeling paper. The texture is very soft, so it doesn't have as much roughness as the and crispness as the arches, but at the same time it's got a really beautiful feel, and I find that it works with granulation really well for that soft look. So we're going to just kind of do one here in the background for you. So let's get these over to my right. And I'm just going to adjust a couple of things and we'll start painting. So starting with an Ultimo size 10, let's go ahead. And when you pick up your color, you want to use a very nice wet brush. And then you want to use your ceramic palette to move that color around and make sure that you've got enough of it on your brush so that it will actually work, so you won't struggle with it. The best thing I find is not to do it in layers, to actually put the color down right away in one, in one swoop. So let's go ahead and use the Glacier Green. Glacier Green is one of my favorites. It breaks apart and it is so, so interesting. So as you can see, I've wet this pan. So I squoze the tubes into the pan and then I wet the pan. I find that it's better to get the tubes. Now I'm going to put it in here. Now, because this is an Ultimo brush, I don't really need to add any more water to it. It's going to be fine. And I do need to switch this over here though, so that, there we go, so that I can paint, because I am primarily right-handed. All right, so here we're going to just lay this down, and look at that. Already just gorgeous, right? Can you see the different colors already just in the first swoop? And you should only need to go over, now this is wet on dry. You should only need to add the amount of water that you feel you need. And what I'm doing is I'm somewhere in between dry brush and very wet. And I'm adding water just by dipping in, and I'm not adding any more color because the Ultimo really just grabs so much color. So now we can add some more color. So already you can see this background is gorgeous, right? And if I want to just kind of add a little more, drop in a little more color, we can just do it this way while it's still wet. And this is going to give me more of my texture for the lower portion, right? Now, if you want to mix it up and you want your sky to be a little more effect, then just drop in some clean water and let it move around. It might not do, like, every single granulating color is going to act differently. So some of them are going to really spread apart, and some of them are just going to kind of wash the color around. And experiment with, see how this beautiful turquoise on this color is just kind of moving around. It's just so beautiful. So Glacier Green is a combination, and I've already done this for you. Glacier Green is a combination of PR 233 and PG 50. Now PG 50 is cerulean blue, and the PR 233 is that gorgeous purple, and it's so, so pretty. So what happens is you can see that you've got this really beautiful color mix here that, I mean, it doesn't get any better, right? And together they almost have this like little gray kind of look. So I'm going through and I'm just adding just little drops of the color just so that it can continue to granulate. Now, one other thing you can do is you can rinse your brush out, you can dry it slightly, and you can actually remove color. And what you're doing by that in areas is you're removing one of the colors, the one that's sitting on top, because granulating, like you can see this turquoise wants to kind of slide around the top, right? The cerulean blue. It wants to slide around on its own, where the other one just is grounded. It's just heavily granulating and it just wants to sink. And that's the beauty of this particular color. Really pretty. So pretty. So PR 233 is a purpley pink color named Potter's Pink. You might know it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the cerulean. So this is cerulean by Winsor Newton, and it's actually mixed with something else. I can't remember what I mixed it with. I think I mixed it with PBK 11, which is a little bit of black, like Mars black. And I'm just going to kind of go in here and just add a little more cerulean into some areas. And this is a personal choice, right? Like, I just happen to really love cerulean blue and the way it looks. And I think that it's really fun to show you that you can add another component very easily that is in your granulating watercolor, just to bring out one color or another. And feel free to do that. I mean, even you can take, even like in this kit here, I've got a bunch of different additional colors that I can add, one being French Ultra, which is a granulating color. So if I added a little French Ultra to my mix over here, then I actually am able to pull in even more granulation. And what this is doing is I'm getting like that like darker area. I'm just dropping it in, and then when it dries, you're still going to have that beautiful dry shift, all that texture naturally in the sky and wherever else, you know, but this is going to give me just that little bit of structure in the lower part of my painting in my background. See, so don't be afraid. I think my point is just don't be afraid to add other granulating colors to your granulating colors, because it makes them more customized. It makes them so beautiful. And there's ever so much more that you can get with a set like this. It's not just about the actual color, right? So if this is great glacier green, I could add French ultra to it. I could add a cobalt violet to it. I could add cobalt teal, manganese. I can add more cerulean, you know, whatever it is that I want to add in those blues. Even a phthalo, you're going to get something different every single time when you do it. So definitely play with your colors. I think they're so much fun to play with. Look at how that ultramarine gave it a little more of a lavender. So now I have the potter's pink, which is heavily granulating, the cerulean, which granulates pretty good, but not a ton. It's mostly about that color, right? That beautiful color that is up there. And then I have this lavender shade coming in because I added the ultramarine, which is also granulating. And that's a beautiful, beautiful background right there for anything you want to use. So let's go on to another one and do something with those beautiful greens. So Shire green is another color that is really interesting because it's actually a lot lighter than you think. So I'm going to grab a bunch of the Shire green in my Ultimo brush here. I've just stuck with the Ultimo brush because honestly, it's working out great and I haven't really needed to pick up anything else. So I'm going to, on dry paper, and you could do this on wet as well. We're going to do two tests. We're going to do this one on dry. And I'm just going to paint a whole area here. I don't know what that is. Yep. Let's rinse my brush out. And then I'm going to use water to peel back some of the green color here, because I want you to see that if I put water on this one, it will actually, and like I said, they each do something different, right? This is what this one does. But I love this. I love this effect that it does. I can actually wash down some of the green to be at the bottom of my page or wherever I want it to be, just by adding more water. And then I pick up more color and just give it a little more color. Now this is one of them that you actually can go over a few times and it works fine. I'm going to scoop away some of this extra water here so you don't really need it. But see how beautiful? So now I got this really, really light lemon color. It's so, so pretty. So now let's put it in full strength on this other one so I can show you what we can do here with it. So here I'm going to do full strength. And again, I'm just doing it wet paint on dry watercolor paper. This is 140 pound Anamula. It's a nice paper. I still like the texture of Arches the best. This one is kind of like a Fabriano a little bit, but I feel like the Fabriano isn't as soft as this paper. I love the way this paper, though, it does kind of like what you'll notice about really good papers, whether you work with Anamula or the Fabriano or the Arches, is as they dry, they do the rest of the work for you. So this is going to keep drying and keep changing. And that's just the beauty of great paper, you know? So even if you like make a sketchbook out of one pad of paper where you get like 48 pages in the sketchbook, it's so worth it because you can use teeny pieces of it in your sketchbook and just have a ball learning about the watercolor. Okay, and then here, I'm just going to take this and I'm going to show you just how to mix it with something else too. So we're going to put that here. And it's getting enough on my brush. So you can see this beautiful color. This one is that gorgeous yellow and it's PY 159 and PG 18. So again, the reason why I had my students make these charts is because we have broken apart all of the watercolor. So this Shire green being PY 159 and PG 18 is made up of those two colors, and that's what you're seeing. So you're kind of seeing the yellow, and you're seeing the beautiful, beautiful green. One thing great about the Viridian green that you might not know is it's from the 19th century. It's actually a semi-transparent, but it was used by all of the Impressionist painters and the Post-Impressionist painters. Like, so Claude Monet, you know, all those great painters, they loved Viridian green, and that is actually the base of Shire green. So it not only has the PY 159, which is the only granulating yellow that exists. I don't think there's any other one. And it actually, you can buy it. PY 159 is in the Volcano set, or you can just buy it by itself. It is this gorgeous granulating yellow. And that is the base of this Shire green. You can see how I added water to it and it started to come away. So on this one here, I'm going to add a ton of the color down here, just straight from my pan. And it's a very light Viridian wash, mostly yellow. Just a very beautiful light wash. But I'm going to show you what we can do with it. So here I'm going to just drip some water. And you can see how when I drip the water, it breaks apart some of the green in here. See, you can really see it where it's heavier green. See that? And then the yellow comes out. Another thing you can do with this is you can add colors to it. So like I said before, if you wanted to add a cobalt or even a manganese, it would be beautiful. So let's take the manganese blue, because that's a gorgeous granulating blue, and it's so soft and lovely. And I'm going to drop it in here. So look at how brilliant that mixes with that. I can also drop it in here just to give that little bit of extra depth of color. And I feel like it complements the Shire so well, you know? I feel like it really complements that Shire green. Now that what is it? Amazonite? Amazonite is that green one by Daniel Smith. So that is also a great, brilliant green. But, you know, for that matter, listen, Viridian itself, if you have Viridian green in your kit, whip out the Viridian green. Or even if you're going to get Schminko granulating color, then get the Viridian, because either Viridian or Daniel Smith's Amazonite or the manganese blue, all terrific colors to add to this gorgeous Shire set. Look at that. Look at that. That's Amazonite. So remember what we're doing here. We're creating interesting backgrounds, right? Interesting backgrounds. And that way you can do whether you're going to be doing the landscapes, or if you want to do flowers or anything like that, you have a base of what you can use. So like right now, if we wanted to do something like this, then I would take my Escoda size 10 Versatile, and I would take something really like that cuts through, like a phthalo blue, something that really knows how to control itself, right? And I would just simply roll it over one of my backgrounds. Just really, really nicely like that, just tapping in the color and letting that background just kind of take it in. Now you don't want to cover everything, you just want it to be very, very loose, right? And here we haven't even started to really dry yet, so it's definitely, I'm trying to get it in those areas where it's already dry. But that's one thing you can do. Now, in areas that it's still wet, you can take a flat brush. I probably have one up here. I do. So this is a bright size 12. This is a Perla Escoda. Clean water, wipe the brush, and literally clean up the edges until you get the shape that you want. And then let the watercolor dry and do the rest of the work for you. So if it's getting away from you like it is up here, literally just cut it back. Now, I find that Schmincke, their granulating sets are way easier to do removals than anything else I've seen. So one of the benefits of theirs is that I can actually bring back and control what's going on. You know what I mean? Oops. Sorry, I have a cord here to deal with. Let me get my cloth. Yeah, so if you want something that you can push back like this and get those whites back in, it's the Schmincke brand that really just allows it. So I just kind of brought that back in, and we're going to let it do the rest of its little fun. And here, as this is drying now, I love that. That's beautiful. Let's go ahead and get my brush again. Come back in with a little more of that color. And I'm just going to roll it in a little bit heavy. And this again this is a very small area, but I'm just doing it as it dries. So as your area starts to dry, like this is a nice little area here that is already dry, and I can even encourage it to dry a bit more. And then just dry brush in some little areas here in my flowers. Just by rolling it, using different weights of the color. Because you can always, like I said, you can always remove it. I'm so glad you're here painting with me. This is fun. I hope you take the course because I think you will really enjoy it. It gives you exercises to do and inspires you to keep going, and you learn so much about your paints and your colors here. Isn't this pretty? Let's try another one right there. And just let it sit for a bit. So there I went ahead and just went a little crazy with the water because I wanted it just to be really soft. And here we're going to take that brush and just shape it. Get some of those whites back in there. It's because I don't want to lose it. Now, if you see the shape is just fine, you know, on its own and you like it, then leave it. By all means, leave it. But I sometimes like to have some of that white in there so I have options. And then I can, as it dries, I can go back and add an area like that, you know? I've got multiple paintings going here at the same time, but this is just, I mean, this is just a few colors too, right? Like we didn't really even do that many. But you can see you could play for hours with granulating colors. You just add whatever it is you have on hand, get a few of their beautiful colors, and see how they interact, how they play together. Let me show you this. So see how this is interacting with the Shire. It is just beautiful. It's doing so many really interesting things. Let me grab a little more of it. I'm just going to tap it in here. Just to like give it a little more power there. Sensational, right? Everyone is going to be different. Every journey of watercolor is unique. All of them. All of them are unique. There we go. So I'm just kind of shaping out some flowers. And what I can do as well is, I already used this brush, so let's see if this one will lift out just a little bit more. If I had a Q-tip, it'd be easier because I could just get that one little area. There we go. This is cool. I like the way it went up. It's really neat. This is still really wet. So you can see how it's still working. So we literally just let it dry and see what we end up with. This is the time when you really have to have a vision for flowers. And as you know, if you watch my channel, I go walking every single day with my dogs so that I can kind of see all the new blooms right as they're happening. You know what I mean? And I really love to do that. It inspires me. It really does. Okay. I really like this one over here. That's really beautiful. So this is really nice and loose, and I'm not going to mess with it too much. I kind of want it to be beautiful and loose. I think that's great. And right now I'm going to go ahead and add something bright to it. So let's take that cobalt violet, which is such a beautiful color. And I'm just going to throw that in the center. And let that kind of do it at once. Isn't that pretty? And let's do some stems. And then we have just kind of a range of different loose watercolors. Here I'm going to like just pull back some little petals and see how that dries. I mean, we can always add things back in. You know, you're never really stuck. Watercolor's kind of fun like that. Let's see what that looks like. It's kind of manipulating the shapes a bit. There's a floral class for beginners too. If you love flowers like I do and you want to come and learn how to paint a lot of different flowers. So if your flowers are giving you a hard time and you need some new ideas, definitely come take that class. I like that class. It's fun. So I'm just kind of giving myself some little marks here because my phthalo really loves to take over, and I feel like it looks just a little too even. So by loosening those things up, you see I actually created some more flower shapes, you know. And once that dries, I can go back in. This one turned out really good. I like this side shape. That's really pretty. So I'm just pushing the color around here. Now that this is dry, I can just kind of give it a few little petals. Just to make it look even more so like a flower. And here. I actually love this. I'm going to leave that alone. I think that's so cute. It's adorable. Okay, so we didn't really need to use most of these. So let's just grab this brush here, and I'm just going to do some really, well, maybe I'll use the one that's easier for you guys. So let's use just a size 2 Escoda Prado. This would be a script or a striper. I can't remember what they call it in Prado. This is from the Fabio Cambronelli brush collection. It actually comes with these 2 brushes, which I happen to really love. It comes in this set. This is great for florals. It's really, really wonderful. I use this set all the time. But in any case, we're going to grab some green here. So you can pretty much do anything. I have some really beautiful greens in this palette that I can use. So I'm just kind of mixing that green in with that phthalo. So see how soft that background is? It's just so soft. Now, what you can also do is you can take more of your color and go over as it dries and literally kind of just paint around. And what you'll end up with is it's like a nice background color. You know what I mean? So you've got this beautiful, look at that beautiful light right there. Isn't that gorgeous? So I'm literally taking some of the complementing colors that I used, and I'm just kind of going through and giving it some natural texture. And it's a great way to just kind of give yourself a little more energy in your painting and not be so strict, so that, you know, like, I'm just going right through them. It's not going to do anything, right? It's not going to do anything wrong because I'm not using a color that's going to work against what's already there. These are actually the colors that are making up these colors, right? So by using the green, like the amazonite or the viridian, it's already in that color or it's close to it, so it actually complements it. See what I mean? And then I can go back in here and I can darken up some of my areas of my flowers. And that's just like a personal little, you know, add-in thing that you might want to do as things are drying or after the fact, you know, just to kind of shape up your flowers. And that just gives me just a little texture and just blot it out. Adding water too will allow you to push. I'm using the wrong brush for that though. Okay, let's finish up some of our greens. So just rolling my brush on its side is going to give me some really nice very loose leaf shapes, you know, and that really works so well. Okay, so little final details you can just take. The easiest way to get them to be organic so you don't overwork your painting is literally take one of the colors that you've used in like a brush with some water. Don't have it like too much water, and just roll it over your flowers. And you can see it keeps you from getting too stiff, but it adds that beautiful texture in some of the areas that you'd like to have that, just that like little final touch, right, on the flowers. But at the same time, it's keeping it really loose. I'm not losing my loose structure. And then, yeah, and then we're done. I mean, maybe just go back in with either a touch of the center color again, because now that it's dry, if you don't like it, you know, if you want it to be a little brighter, or you can even add like a brighter color, like a pink, like a hot pink or something. Quin Rose is also a great additional color to mix in there. If there's any areas that you left that were very, very light, Quin Rose will just brighten that right up. Isn't that beautiful? And there we go. So I hope you enjoyed this video and you learned something about doing those textures and working with the granulating watercolors. No matter what, I love this one. I think this is really, really pretty. I love the way that, you know, watch for them, see which ones you look at, like these, that will remove, right, that they will, the colors will split apart, or try and make your own. You know, yellow is a great one to add in wet washes and then add like another granulating color over it, like French Ultra. Any of these really, like the manganese blue, the cobalt teal, you can do that right now, even if you don't have the granulating Shire green. But that Shire green's cool. And that was phthalo with the cobalt violet and a little bit of the Quin Rose. And then we use the Amazonite. All right. I love you guys. I hope you had fun. This is a good time. So don't forget, come back and paint with me soon and make something amazing today, and then share it on my group page. I would love to see what you guys come up with.